Hello, and welcome to this Joyful Minds video, recorded as part of the January 2021 Joyful Minds Transformation Summit. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe for more, and drop your thoughts and comments in the section below. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the start of the Joyful Minds Transformation Summit. I'm loving this technology. It's the first time I've streamed from Zoom into Facebook. And so I'm a little bit relieved that it's actually working. So yeah, thank you for joining me. We've got a week-long transformation summit planned. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Sarah Watts. I'm a transformational coach and founder of Joyful Minds. My background is in corporate HR, and then last year I followed my heart and my passion and my dreams to start a coaching practice, which is called Joyful Minds. I started it last year, and I now offer individual coaching and group coaching programs, plus retreats and women's circles. So I've organised this week-long summit really to showcase all the various tools and techniques, approaches and models that have inspired me on my transformational journey. I've been on my own journey of personal growth, and these are all the various things which have inspired me that I use for myself, and I also use with my clients. So I really have witnessed firsthand the impact that these various tools can have, both for myself and in my clients. And I planned to hold this summit before the lockdown was announced, and now we're all in the depths of another national lockdown, and juggling homeschooling and working from home and all the challenges that that brings. I'm hoping even more so that this summit provides inspiration to you. And, you know, really, I think the path, we all walk our own path of development and growth. And really, the trick is about finding the thing that resonates with you. So by showcasing all these different tools, I'm hoping that it might inspire you to find the thing that resonates with you, that you feel compelled to explore further, to learn more about. And as we go along that journey, we learn, apply, and master. So that's the inspiration behind the summit. I'm streaming live into Facebook, the Facebook group, which is the Joyful Minds community. I'm just trying to check my phone to see if I can see who is watching. And I know a lot of people were struggling to join live. So, you know, with working from home and homeschooling and all of that kind of thing. So if you are watching live, give me a thumbs up, drop a hashtag live into the comments so I can see you. And if you're watching on replay, drop a hashtag replay into the comments as well, so we know that you have joined us afterwards. So today's session is all about the hero's journey. I absolutely love the hero's journey, and that's why I felt that it was a really fitting way to open the summit. Because it really talks to the personal growth journey that we go on. But also, we see the hero's journey in some of our favourite films. So today I'm going to draw upon you know, Star Wars, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, The Matrix. These are all classic films that we all know and love, that really showcase the hero's journey, and we can take some of the learnings and the metaphors from those. And we do love a good story. As human beings, we really connect with storytelling. It's a way of imparting messages and wisdom and traditions. But also when we listen to a story, it really connects with the empathy and trust and connection within ourselves. And neuroscience shows us that when that happens, we can often place ourselves in the story, so we're really connected with the story. And it also releases the feel good hormone, oxytocin, that feeling we have when we feel connection. Which means that we often will remember stories more easily as a result of that. And that's nothing new. So, myths and fables and folklore, even religious stories, all generally impart some message or meaning to the listeners. So, yeah, as I said, what I really loved about the hero's journey is what we can learn about it for our own personal growth. And the hero's journey came about by a chap called Joseph Campbell, who was an American author. And he came up with this concept of a monomyth, which is basically the myth of all myths. What he said was that there was this one myth that all other myths were built around. So this is the thread that all other stories are formed from. And you can see how all those other stories relate back to this one monomyth. And it became really popular in Hollywood with script writers and directors. And once you know the hero's journey, you may well recognize it in some of your favorite films. Okay, so I'm going to get into it now, and I'm going to share my screen. Okay, transformation, a hero's journey. So at the start of the hero's journey, the hero is born of royalty. And this symbolizes our innate greatness, our innate abilities. As human beings, we have the power of thought, we have the power of imagination, and we have the power of creation. And this is symbolic. Being born of royalty, this is symbolic of all our innate abilities and our wholeness and perfection. Some people will relate to this as sovereignty or our divinity. I like to use the language that it's our greatness. And we know when we look across to films, Luke was born of his parents, a Jedi Knight, Anakin Skywalker, and also the Queen Padme. Frodo in The Lord of the Rings was born into a very well-respected family, the Baggins family. Harry Potter was born of two magical parents. And Neo, even though we don't know much about Neo's parents in The Matrix, he was the one. So this is really symbolic of our innate ability to create and imagine and to think. And what happens is when we're in this stage, we're connected to everything through all time and space. And what science has shown us is that when babies are born, they really can't distinguish the difference between themselves and their parents or their environment. They really feel connected to everything. They don't have a sense of self yet. And around the age of about 12 to 15 months, as a baby, we go through this process called individuation, which is where we have the realization that we're a separate human being, a separate entity to those around us. And with that separation, we feel separate from the love and connection that we crave. And all human beings have this fundamental need for love and connection. And it's so fundamental that when we feel separate to it, we actually feel there's a threat to our life because we won't be viable. Babies really rely on their parents to take care of them, and if they're separate from this love and connection and care, they really aren't going to survive. And so what happens is, to make sense of this separation, We form beliefs and assumptions about ourselves and about the world around us. And these assumptions and beliefs, they can be related to as our core wound, if you like. So you might think of these like things like I'm not good enough or I don't belong. It's a way of making sense of this separation. It might be that I'm not perfect enough, or I'm not capable enough, or I'm not powerful. And these form these deep beliefs and become part of our identity or part of our ego. When we think about how this is brought to life in film, Harry Potter is a fantastic example of this, because there's a threat to his life as a baby when Lord Voldemort comes to kill his parents. Anakin and the Emperor would hurt or potentially kill Luke if he was to be found. So in the hero's journey, there's this threat to life, this really significant, serious potential lack of viability. And we make sense of that by creating these beliefs and assumptions about ourselves, which form our identity and ego. And then the child goes into hiding. And this is representative of us hiding from our greatness. This is where we believe these beliefs and assumptions about ourselves to be real, and we allow them to dictate to us the confines of our lives. And this is where we really are living a life of struggle. And what happens is that we believe we have to compensate for these wounds, these beliefs that we have. And examples of this might be, so if we run a belief around not feeling good enough, our intention, consciously or unconsciously, is to become whole. And so, what we can end up focusing on is trying to feel good enough, trying to achieve enough, trying to have enough experience, enough knowledge. Then finally, we'll be good enough, and then we can either have what it is we want, or we can really get that love and connection that we are craving. For people who have a belief around self-worth and not feeling worthy, they can consciously or unconsciously start to focus on seeking approval. So this might look like being a good person and living up to the rules that they have created around what a good person means. For someone who doesn't feel powerful, they can consciously or unconsciously focus on external results, status symbols, things like that. And we can believe that when we've achieved these things, when we've met that, when we've compensated for that, then we can have what we want. And it can stop us from really reaching our full potential. Often people refer to these as limiting beliefs because they really do keep us limited, and keep us small. So if we look across to the metaphors from film, Luke, who ends up being one of the most powerful Jedi Knights in the galaxy, he's living as a farmer on Tatooine. He's not living his full potential at that point. He's living small. Frodo is living in the little bubble of the Shire. He's an unlikely hero that goes on a hero's journey, but he really does have innate skills and abilities that will never come to life if he stays in the Shire. Harry is living as a muggle in the cupboard under the stairs. He has no idea at this point that he has these magical abilities. He believes that he doesn't belong in this world, and he's confined to living in a cupboard under the stairs. And Neo is living in the Matrix. He's a kind of insignificant computer programmer at that point, and not being particularly successful with it either. And so this is representative of us, really confining ourselves to focusing on compensating for these wounds. And we're never going to reach our full potential once we do that. So the next stage of the hero's journey is the call to adventure. And this is where it gets really exciting. So the call to adventure is where we feel like perhaps in our own lives we've reached a point where we might be questioning our purpose in life. We might be questioning, is there more to life than this? And it might be little things, or it might be, bigger events that happen in our life where we feel like, I will no longer live in this pain and suffering. And that can really create a momentum for making changes. Um, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, he talks about how us all as human beings have this motivation for being the best that we can be, to really living up to our skills and abilities and reaching our full potential, which he calls self-actualization. And so whether it's a burning platform, if you like, or whether it's just this motivation towards having more and experiencing more in our own journeys, that's our call to adventure. And sometimes these can come as little breadcrumbs. I often talk about how we follow the breadcrumbs, and sometimes we don't know, where those breadcrumbs are going to take us. And it's only when we look back we see, the picture of where we've come and how significant those little breadcrumbs might have been. And when we think about our heroes in our films, so Luke receives the message from Princess Leia from R2D2. And this is his call to adventure, because the call to adventure really creates a fork in the road. It creates another opportunity, um, another possibility for our hero to take them off the course that they were on and go down a different one. So Frodo gets the ring from Bilbo. That's his call to adventure, because here's an invitation for you to go on an adventure. It's the starting point of that journey. Harry gets his invitation to Hogwarts. There he is, going along as a muggle, living in a cupboard under the stairs, and he then receives this invitation. At that point, he realizes that there is another world, there is another way, and it creates that fork in the road, that defining moment where he starts to go down a different path. And Neo's call to adventure is when his computer gives him that little message about following the right white rabbit, and he chooses to follow the girl with the rabbit tattoo off the back of that, because he had a real sense that it was important. There was something inside of him that was saying, this is something that's good to follow, and he didn't know, where it was going to take him. And you might relate to that in your own life when you think about the journey you've been on. Has there been that little nudge from your intuition that said, this feels like a good thing to do? And so then what happens once we've had the call to adventure is we can meet threshold guardians. So in the hero's journey, a threshold guardian is someone from the unknown world that comes into the known world. So what you can see on the screen at the moment, this is the known world. The hero is aware of this world already. And when they cross the threshold, they're entering into the unknown world. And Threshold Guardian is someone who's come from that unknown world, and they come to talk to the hero and express to them that there's another way. So for Neo, the Threshold Guardian was Trinity, and Trinity met Neo and said, you're following your call. You have questions, we have answers. Come and find them. In Lord of the Rings, Frodo, this was from, Bilbo offering him this call to adventure. And for Harry, it was Hagrid. Hagrid was Harry's threshold guardian, who came from the magical world into the muggle world, and delivered the call to adventure to Harry, and really heralded him to this threshold. And you might relate to this in your own journey. I certainly can, of friends in my life who have been on a journey, and they've come back and shared that with me, and they've invited me to join that path, and I'm very grateful that they did, But crossing this threshold from the known to the unknown world, can be quite a scary prospect. Because our unconscious minds, it really is designed to try and keep us safe. And obviously, when we enter into an unknown world, we don't know where that journey is going to take us. And that's true for our heroes in the story. They had no idea what was in store for them once they followed down that path. And so, sometimes a hero can refuse the call to adventure, and can go back to being the child in hiding. And you might relate to this in your own life too. Maybe you've gotten to the point of feeling like, I really do want to make a change in my life. And then you've explored it, but then, something's happened that stopped you from pursuing it. And you've just figured out maybe things will sort themselves out by themselves, or whatever it was that created the momentum towards that call to adventure. Perhaps that's died down, and you decided to not pursue it any further. And that's quite natural and quite normal. And sometimes people can go through this part of the hero's journey a few times before they actually cross that threshold. And so crossing the threshold really does require will and intention. So it's a decisive move to cross over that threshold and go on the journey. So then, once the hero is over the threshold, they meet the wise person. These are some of our favourite people in the films. And the wise person, represents someone who has already walked that path. The wise person already has the skills and experience. They already know the way. And more importantly than that, they are committed to helping the hero to find their own innate abilities and find their own royalty, their own greatness. And they also, have the hero's back and make sure that the hero doesn't fail and stays on the right path. And so our wise people in film, we've got Luke met Obi-Wan Kenobi and also Yoda. Both of those individuals had learned the power of the Force. They had mastered the power of the Force, and they were able to take Luke into training and help him to discover and develop his own innate abilities. Harry met Dumbledore, and Dumbledore was the greatest wizard in the magical world. And Dumbledore really knew what was required of Harry and supported Harry all the way along that journey and made sure he had the help that he needed at the times that he needed it. Frodo had the help from Gandalf. Gandalf knew the whole of Middle Earth, and he knew, what was required of Frodo to overpower Sauron, and he was able to support Frodo on that journey and really help and orchestrate the things to happen that would help Frodo along his path. And Neo met Morpheus, and we love Morpheus, don't we? And Morpheus also was this experienced person who was able to help Neo develop his skills. But also, Morpheus really believed in Neo. Even when everyone else was questioning, is Neo the one? Even when the Oracle said that Neo wasn't the one, Morpheus still believed in Neo, even when Neo didn't believe in himself. And he was always having Neo's back. And so what happens is the hero goes into training with the wise person, and along that journey has trials and tribulations and tests and skills, and develops and hones their ability. And quite often they get given different tools and different gifts. So Luke has his lightsaber. Luke gets given his lightsaber. Frodo gets given his elf sword and the mithril shirt. And Harry gets given his cloak of invisibility. And all of these different things are designed to help the hero to learn the innate abilities that they have and really hone those skills. You might relate to this in your own personal development journey, where you've met someone who has walked the path ahead of you. and has been able to take you into training and to show you the way, and that you found your own abilities to be able to walk this path, and has maybe given you some tools in your toolkit that have helped you on your journey. All of this journey is leading up to the next and final phase of the hero's journey, which is where we face our demons. It's where we face our dragon, and our dragon is symbolic of our ego, our identity, the shadow self, if you like, that we formed as part of that threat to life and child in hiding. And in mythology, the earliest mention of this is around pacifying the dragon. It was only in later mythology where they talked about slaying or killing the dragon. And this really represents for us in our journey around facing that shadow self and understanding ourselves wholly and completely, both our light and our dark, and really being able to take the power out of some of that dark side, that shadow self, the ego, the wounds that we have. Because when we're a child in hiding, we're allowing those elements to limit our possibilities. And so to really live our full greatness, we have to be able to take the power out of that side of ourselves. And we do that through knowing ourselves and choosing to put our will into our greatness. So these are some of the greatest battles, aren't they? So Luke faces Darth Vader. Not only is Darth Vader, a powerful dark side, Lord, he also is Luke's father. And so Luke has to face this demon, and in the end, you could call it pacifying the dragon, because he actually turns his father back to the light side before he dies. Frodo defeats Sauron, but also, Frodo in the whole part of his journey has been this ring bearer and has been able to weather the strength of this ring where others have failed to do so. And right at that final point where he's about to throw the ring into the lava, he becomes overwhelmed by the power of that ring. And so he really has to face his demons at that point. Harry faces Voldemort, Lord Voldemort, and also has to, be really brave, and knows that what's involved in overcoming Lord Voldemort is that he has to die. So Harry goes to face his demons, and he knows that he has to die and be reborn. Well, he didn't know it. He had to be reborn. That comes to life as he's gone on his journey. But in order to overcome Lord Voldemort and detach this part of Lord Voldemort that's in his soul, he has to die. And Neo has to overcome Agent Smith. And Agent Smith is, faster and smarter, and has been undefeated. And Neo finds the way, the ability, the innate ability within himself to overcome Agent Smith. And you'll notice that in all of our heroes' journey, the demon, the dark side, is always more powerful than the light. And this is true for ourselves, because it's our human nature, our human condition, if you like, to live from the default of our wounds. And it takes great will and great focus to overcome those. And all of our heroes in those stories have something in common. At the start of their journey, they really didn't think they had it in them. They weren't able to imagine the greatness that they could achieve. And even if they could have imagined it, they wouldn't have thought that that would be them. And through going on this journey, they start to realize what they are capable of. And it all comes from within them, their innate abilities. And they become transformed as they go on this journey. And that's true for us too. We often all will suffer at one point or another from thoughts of, that's not me, and I'm not able to do that, and we might think that success and happy and fulfilled life or whatever is for other people, and that it's not possible for ourselves. And it's only when we go on this transformational journey that we're able to see our own skills and abilities to realize that. So once the final battle has finished, this is where the hero finds their treasure. This is the elixir of life. It's symbolic of us finding our hearts and our true nature and greatness. It's back into our royalty, if you like. And this is where the hero has really gained great wisdom and power, and new abilities to master both worlds, both the known and the unknown, the light and the dark. Frodo, for example, when he gets back from his adventure, he is able to go on other adventures. He's no longer confined by the Shire, and he goes off on his own adventure. Harry, he finds the Elder Wand, and he is no longer does he need external objects of power, and he breaks that Elder Wand. He's not going to be seduced by that power because he has it in him already. Neo really embodies being the master of two worlds, because he can come and go into the matrix as he pleases. He can see the code. He's able to master it to his will. He's no longer confined by the matrix. And the hero's journey is complete when our heroes return with that treasure to impart it on the world. This is symbolic of us finding our own hearts and then being of service to others. So, in all of our heroes' journey, they all save the world, don't they? Frodo saves Middle Earth, Luke saves the galaxy, Harry saves the world. And for ourselves, this is symbolic of us being of service, and offering our skills and abilities for the benefit of others. And, this really resonates for me, because I feel as though my journey, my experience to this date, has been leading me to the point of becoming of service. And when I founded Joyful Minds, it was really with that intention of in mind, that I've walked this journey and I can help others to do the same. If you'd like to get in touch, drop me an email or contact me on one of the social media platforms. And if you'd like to find out more information about working with me, check out the services that I offer on my website, joyfulminds.co.uk. And I look forward to meeting you soon.